on the best of the best, brought to you by Biles Wilson, boutique commercial litigation firm based here in the Dallas area, but we practice on a national level. And my partner here, Jeremy Wilson.
Hello.
And we're joined today by our great guest and my friend, Stewart Wessel. Thank you, Stewart.
Dunham, thanks for having me. Jeremy, great to see you.
You're back. Glad you're here.
So, Stewart, we always like to start just on a little bit of a personal note so the audience knows who you are. So tell us about how you grew up on a farm, I think, in New Jersey and found yourself eventually in Dallas.
Wow. I am from New Jersey, born and raised, grew up in central New Jersey by the Jersey Shore, not on a farm, but there were farms around, believe it or not. In New Jersey, there are farms. And long story short, I fell in love and moved here about 30 years ago. That's how I came to be in Dallas.
But it was a little more interesting trip from New Jersey to Dallas than that, right?
Yeah. It's been graduated college in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Worked in Manhattan. Then found myself in the Carolinas for a while, and then eventually made my way here. And I know what you're getting at. I was a star of the Montel Williams show.
Really?
That's what you're driving at.
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I was going to.
All right.
But speaking of which, you were a star on the Montel Williams show.
Well, star might be overstating it.
Now you got to tell the story.
You got to tell the story, sir.
Okay, yeah. So, working in Manhattan, a girl in my office was a friend of a producer, and they were putting together a show, and they needed someone to come on as a nice guy. Somebody wrote a book, How to Be the Jerk All the Women Love, and I went on as a nice guy.
How'd that work out for you?
I'm still a nice guy.
Good.
It was somewhat embarrassing, but got some exposure.
Well, I don't want to suggest you're not a nice guy, but were you going on as yourself, or were you going on
As a character?
Or how?
No, that was me.
That was you.
So legit, yeah.
Okay. And so were they were just asking you questions about like what you would do in a relationship, or what were you talking about? Was this
you think this is it?
Yeah, I do, actually.
Yeah, so
behind the scenes of the Montel.
Well, there's even actually going to go.
Well, here we are.
I'm glad to expand. As I mentioned, the guy wrote the book, How to Be the Jerk All the Women Love.
Sure.
So I went on saying that girls prefer the jerk because they weren't interested in me.
I see. Okay.
So
He was just asking you a lot of questions about that and kind of didn't.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But actually, Stewart, I was trying to get at your commitment level to your now wife, and you moved from New Jersey with just your car, no job, no
true.
Place, and now look at you. You've been married how long?
27 years we've been married.
And have how many kids?
Two kids,
Yeah.
2 girls. One just graduated college, and the other is a junior at Spring Hill College in Mobile, Alabama.
And so I don't know. Did you met your wife and she's from Texas, and so you came here with her, or
Okay.
here?
All right. Here we go. All right. So when I lived in the Carolinas, I worked with a lady who said, "You need to meet my niece in Texas."
Okay.
And I guess she was right,
I
because
see.
we've been married for 27 years.
Oh, all right. Excellent. Well, tell us a little bit about your early kind of background. What did you study in college?
So in college, I was a marketing major.
Okay.
My grandfather had his own business and said that I should get into sales because you get to go and travel around and see the country, and they make good money.
Yeah.
So that was my target.
Okay.
So graduated college
Lehigh.
from Lehigh University. Go Mountain Hawks. And they're going to take down Penn this weekend, if you didn't know.
I didn't know that.
So, yeah. I can't wait to eat that cheese steak. Anyway, so graduated. I sold frozen meat door to door, starting off.
Okay.
That was my first straight commission right out of school job. Then I worked in Manhattan selling ergonomic products, which is like back in the day, wrist rests for carpal tunnel syndrome and eye protection screens for the monitors and
Okay.
that kind of thing. And then I went down to the Carolinas, sold a few things there, made it my way here, and I sold low voltage, like basically security equipment. So fire alarms, burglar alarms, CCTV, access control. And I sold it distribution first, and then I went to the dealer side, and I ran their national accounts division, where we sold to a lot of retail. So like CVS's, JCPenney's, Dillard's, et cetera, grocery store, all kinds of places.
So
Now you're an amazing legal recruiter.
Well, I had a midlife crisis and wanted to get out of doing what I was doing. And I had a friend who was a legal recruiter and wanted to start his own firm. So we kind of joined forces, and he brought the knowledge and I brought the work. And and about 5 years ago, I went out on my own.
So he had a background in legal recruiting, I guess, for
Yes.
working for somebody else.
Yes.
Okay. So you're kind of in on the ground floor of a new business venture then when you
Yes.
started that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So how long ago was that?
It was almost 15 years ago. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
So you've seen a lot of changes, though, in the legal recruiting business.
It's constantly evolving. I've seen a lot of new firms first move into Houston, and then over the past 5 years or so, move into Dallas. Everyone wants to be part of the milk and honey of Texas. So there's been a huge expansion in the number of firms, national firms that either took over a firm or brought some groups in together to, start a firm office here in Dallas.
Well, so, we know what illegal recruiters are because we're kind of in this business, but maybe for our audience, if you could kind of explain in general, obviously you're helping to find legal talent and connect them with a law firm, but could you explain maybe a little bit more kind of how that works? Is it typically driven by the attorney and you're out on their behalf, or are you working for the law firm and then trying to find them a good fit? Is it a little of both? Can you kind of speak to that a little bit?
I would say I'm kind of like a sports agent, or a matchmaker. So I kind of work both for the client and for the candidate. So it really depends what I'm looking for. I have clients that reach out to me and say, hey, I'm looking for this practice area, this amount of business, this threshold. I try to focus on partners with business, and I've moved some practice groups to other firms. So they'll ask me for specific need, and that usually is either it's a newer firm to town and they're looking to kind of fill a gap. Maybe they're nationally, they're real strong in a practice area, so they're looking to build a team here in Dallas. Sometimes they want some depth in that practice area. So I go and work to find those candidates. On the other side, when I'm introduced or find a candidate, an attorney who's open-minded, curious, and maybe has some pain in their current situation, I know the market well enough that I can kind of navigate and figure out where that pain can be relieved, and get them into a better situation. So some of those pain points are rates comes up a lot as firms are growing and pushed for more profitability. They're pushing that. I'm sure you guys understand this from your background. So they're looking for, the partner may be looking for some rate relief. Sometimes big firms, you run into conflict issues a lot. You work to get a client, and then all of a sudden, somebody in Atlanta's like, that's my client. And it's kind of a frustrating situation. So people, those are just two examples.
How do individuals and law firms find you?
Well, I do a lot of networking. I also make a lot of phone calls, reaching out to folks to find people who might be open-minded to other opportunities. So essentially, that's the driving point. I get introduced by colleagues or people I know. That's kind of how it works.
So what do you think the biggest misconceptions are among partners that you're helping that want to make a move that they need to better understand about the marketplace or what law firms are looking for?
Yeah, I would say the biggest misconception is that if you're a great attorney, every law firm can't wait to meet you. That's kind of the baseline, is that you're a great attorney. Mm-hmm. Firms are looking to grow, right? They either grow with the folks that they have within their organization, or they bring people from outside the organization to lateral in to fill a gap. So, the misconception is I have no business and I want to go to a high level firm. They may not want you without some business.
Sure. What do you think laterals need to do better at in their searches? And because here's the thing I know about you, Stewart, that I'm proud to be your friend, is that I know that you truly help people think through finding the correct match, and not just the first match, not the one who's just going to seemingly pay you the most. And oftentimes this lateral process can be frustrating, both the firms and the lateral candidates, because they just get it wrong. They get the matches wrong. So how should lateral lawyers be treating that to try to avoid these problems?
Yeah, so I would say, well, one, you have to figure out, I ask a lot of questions, trying to figure out what that pain point is, why they're open-minded, why they're curious, why, what makes sense. Are they confident in their book? How confident in their book are they? And then I know some of the cultures of a lot of the firms. So based on their personality and what they're looking for, I can kind of pinpoint several firms that make sense, both culturally and rate wise, and, put the pieces together and who's looking. I have connections where I know who's looking for what. But as far as what attorneys should know, it's a pretty grueling process, the lateral process for partners, especially at the partner level. There's a lot of due diligence. There's the lateral partner questionnaire, which, you need to answer it upfront, honest, and they've kind of evolved. When I started, there was a lot of firms that somebody would come in and say they have X dollars in business, and firms would jump over backwards to bring that person on and pay through the nose. And then maybe it didn't all come over with them, or they were full of baloney or whatever. Mm-hmm. So firms have gotten a lot more strict and doing a lot more due diligence to do everything they can to make sure that when a move happens, it's a smooth transition, and it's a good fit for the attorney and for the firm. So
I mean, that's true. I certainly have seen that firms are doing a much better job of doing very strict due diligence, because Dewey got themselves in a boatload of trouble by not doing it, went broke. And everybody knows those stories. But how does the candidate do their due diligence? Because I happen to be aware of several people I know who went in. The firm seemed to be committed to what they wanted, but sometimes, right, you're meeting with the CEO or one person for the firm, who is the chief executive officer, but at the end of the day, they can't really speak to the full commitment of hundreds or thousands of partners. And so somebody may have a vision and they may like your vision, but how do you make sure that the firm is fully on board with what they're telling you? Because I know somebody where everybody was on board, and now it seems that the people that were meeting with that partner were told to tell them whatever it took to get them in the door.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you try to avoid that problem?
Well, so because I have a lot of relationships with a lot of different firms, I kind of know what's going on. Additionally, I would say looking on your own, the firms don't have my expense. So they're a little more willing to kind of do whatever it takes to get that person in the door, as opposed to making sure it's a success. So,
interesting.
But my fee helps keep things on the up and up, because a firm that is just trying to put bodies, I meet with certain firms and they're like, we have, half this floor is empty. We got to fill it up. Yeah. Well, just having a body in the seat doesn't mean that it's going to be a profitable situation.
Yep.
And it's all about risk, right? So is the risk going to be on the attorney, or is the risk on the firm, right? So who's going to take the gamble? Who's going to put up, ideally it's a win-win for both sides, right? Where both sides feel a little uncomfortable, but they're working towards a goal, or working towards growing the group, or helping grow their practice.
Have you seen kind of changes in trends over the 15 years you've been doing this, in terms of how law firms are approaching the types of lateral partners that they either, that they seek out, or that they're receptive to speaking with?
Well, like I said, they're definitely, there's more hoops you have to jump through now than there used to be. And they're, a lot of them have internal recruiting groups who that's what they do. And they're looking at the paperwork. And if you're not familiar with the paperwork, it's kind of easy to see where somebody's maybe misrepresenting what they have or don't have, or how confident they are. There's a lot of ways to find that, but by the same token, I would say a lot of attorneys are undershooting because they don't want to be. A lot of them were at firms where somebody came in, they said they had a ton of business. 6 months later, they hadn't billed 1 hour, and they don't want to be that guy, that girl, and they're trying to, they want to underachieve. Well, they want to overachieve, right? They don't want to be in a bad situation.
Do you think this extra diligence is kind of just a maturing of that kind of market, where, because it sounds like, there's instances where it doesn't go the way either side maybe thinks it, certainly one side or the other, expectations aren't met. I just wonder if that's maybe part of a maturing of that process, because
Absolutely.
I would think laterals are, lateral partners. I'm sure there have always been lateral partners, but it seems like it's probably an accelerating thing. I mean, I would imagine you go back 30, 40 years ago, you didn't see nearly as many partners moving over, and, that was more rare.
Yeah. Well, I think it's part of a cultural thing too, right? I mean, I don't know about your parents, but most parents, folks our age, our parents, they had a job and they worked there for 40 years and they got their pension and they went on about their lives. Yeah. Whereas now people are transient. They're moving. They're jumping to make a little extra money. There's, because the pension system kind of went away. Right. There's not as much loyalty. Yeah. And so people are moving to make more money, to help their clients.
And that's on both sides of it, right?
That's true.
I mean, the old model of, you start out as an associate, you make partner, that's your career, where you're going to be there with your partners in that firm with the bigger, that seems to have changed dramatically.
For sure.
And is that still accelerating? Do you see that, or is that now it's kind of in an equilibrium where?
Yes. I would say in the associate world, many associates, the first move is 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
The second move is 5 to 8 years. Okay. So that first move is I don't like this. I need to move somewhere else because the culture, it's toxic, or I'm overworked. Or they have student loan debt. So they're like, I could go somewhere else and make X amount of dollars more.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to have to work more, but I'm going to make more money, more prestige, learn more, become a better attorney.
Yeah.
That's usually the first move. The second move is the people that are starting to figure out that they have to build a book of business. They're looking at their platform and going, I don't have a circle of influence that can pay my current firm's rates.
Right.
I need to get some rate relief so I can get my foot in the door and start building my business. And those are the ones that kind of they figured it out, right? Or they get what I call the talk, right? If you're at a big firm, you're in your 8th year, you don't have business. They never told you needed to build business. You've been working crazy hours, as you guys both experienced.
Yeah.
So they're looking for that next move. The firm says, hey, you got 6 months to figure something out.
Yeah.
And then because they'd rather pay a first year and train them and keep the delta.
Yeah. Let me ask you. So historically, it seems to me, law firms have been terrible in hiring and laying off. Because what seems to happen is that when things go south in the economy, law firms lay off too many people. And then things come back, and now they're understaffed.
They overpay.
And then they have to overpay. And that's what almost every time when we see substantial increases in associate compensation, it's a direct result of the fact that they laid off too many people when times were bad. Have they gotten any better?
No.
No. They still haven't figured out the
No.
cyclical nature.
No, because, I don't know specific. My guess would be, one, attorneys are terrible business people in general. They're trained to be risk averse. The other part is they get paid. They basically empty it all out at the end of the year, right? And they get their distributions for all the equity partners go out. So they want to make as much as they can every year. So if they're losing money and holding on to headcount, they'd rather purge the headcount so they can make more money that year than worry about the future.
Well, it seems like it's part of that cultural shift we were talking about a moment ago, right? Because there's not that necessary long-term loyalty. Like if I'm going to sacrifice this year on my pay because I'm going to make the organization stronger down the road, but I might not be part of that organization. So
That's right.
Why would I be voting to do that?
Yeah, and the other part is you same thing with loyalty from associates, right? You could say, all right, well, we're going to weather the storm and hunker down, and we're going to keep these associates. Then they're going to be loyal,
right?
Because when we come out of this, we'll make money and we'll make it up to it. But
but they may jump, right?
But they're going to jump.
Yeah.
So let me ask you something else about compensation. I've heard recently that it appears that there are at least some firms moving away from what had been trending, which is a very formulaic approach to compensation, meaning that, if you were a partner, you'd get a certain percentage of your originations. And for those who aren't lawyers, what that means is if I brought in a client who paid the firm $100,000 to do the work, but some other lawyer in the firm, Jeremy, did the work, I would get 20% of that as my compensation. So I get $20,000, and then Jeremy would get compensation based on billable hours, billed hours collected, and so he'd get working credit. And there's formulas for computing that, and firms have different ways of doing it depending on how they value different things. But I heard that some firms are now moving back away from the formulaic approach.
I say most things in business are cyclical. So it depends on the size of the firm. And let's be clear, they're all formula.
Oh, yes.
There's a formula
There's
at the bottom of everything. They may do it different ways. They may have a closed compensation, which means they don't share. You know, you can't tell the guy down the hall what you make, and he doesn't tell you, and everybody that's supposed to make everyone not ask and be happy. And if you're happy, then what does it matter what other people make, that kind of thing. But if you're not productive, you're not going to be there, and you're not going to make as much money. So in the subjective compensation, it's still driven by what you originate and how much work you do. The days of you're out on the golf course and you're, you know, generating business and calling in and yelling at an associate to get the work done, but you're about to tee off, like that, the rainmaker, like that's a dinosaur. That doesn't happen a lot. Most big firms, they're looking for someone that develops business, but is also a practicing attorney.
Sure.
And knows what they're doing and is grinding and is putting in those hours. So a lot of regional, the compensation you described, the formulaic type thing, there are a lot of regional firms that have that as the backbone of what you're looking at. And then there's some national ones that, you know, are basically just I call it a pirate ship. So, you know, it's a bunch of individual solos that are all together. Sure. So there's not as much cross-selling. There's not, you know, they may not even have an office space. You kind of pay for your own office space and you do your own thing and everybody does their own thing. And if you have a transactional business where you're cranking out work and your clients you've got that relationship, you can do very well in that platform. Sure. But yeah, I would say they're all formulaic in one form or fashion. Because in law firms, the overhead is the attorneys, the office space, and the employees. Yeah. But there's not a lot of overhead in a, you know, there's no inventory.
Right.
There's no, you know, in a regular business, you know, it's a service business.
Yes. Yeah. Fair enough.
Are you noticing, you mentioned earlier associates, the initial looking around to change has kind of gotten earlier in their careers. You mentioned a couple of factors for that. Are we seeing, I mean, we hear a lot in the news about, you know, younger workers in general wanting more of a work-life balance, just expecting different things from their employment. Are you seeing any of that with associates now as opposed to in the past that are just really looking for maybe something that maybe it exists, maybe it doesn't exist, I don't know. They're just looking, not pleased with the model and looking for something different.
Yeah, I run across that often. I would say COVID, it really reared its head. I won't say ugly head, its head, where folks that are younger attorneys, they're more about work-life balance than they are, and not all, by the way, but some are more about, like, I don't have to make $1 million a year. I want to do my work, and then I want to go and do yoga or what, you know, drink coffee or whatever, and they're looking for that, right? But
are they willing? So during COVID, I was at a big firm, and we had lots of data. We tracked productivity of different people and so forth. My experience was, yes, they wanted work-life balance, but they still wanted the compensation to be as if they didn't have a work-life balance. Like, are these people that are wanting work-life balance, are they realistic about what that means on how much they're going to get paid?
No. No, I would say the people that want the work-life balance want more life than work. And that's their balance. So And you're seeing the reaction to that now, right? Like a lot of big firms are making more days in the office a requirement because if we're being honest, most people are less productive at home when they're waiting for the air conditioning guy to show up while they're trying to work than they are in their office doing their job. And to me, one of the biggest concerns, if I was I am in the legal, but if I was an attorney building a firm, when you don't have people coming into the office and you can't, and it goes for partners too, right? Those associates, you're messing up the future of law, of the practice, of the level of your attorneys, because they're not getting the experience. They're not standing outside of the partner's office going, hey, I ran into this challenge. How do I fix this? Instead, they're sending an email, and then maybe a few days later they get an answer, and they're not being responsive to their clients the way that the clients would expect to be taken care of.
Well,
it's a challenge.
To exactly your point, the data that I'm familiar with showed that associates were far less productive when working from home. And they were the ones who always were begging to work from home. Partners were the ones saying, nobody works from home. I'm working in the office, right? Partners were far more productive working from home. And associates eventually were the ones wanting to come back to the office in this particular instance, because what was going on was that partners would then just get up in the morning and go to their desk and start working at 7 in the morning instead of having to commute and all those things. And they could do their jobs. Associates were more likely to have children at home, whereas partners weren't. So they have distractions, obviously, and things going on, and made their life more difficult. And they wanted, like, in some ways, going to the office was a respite from all these other things going on. And then the bigger problem, to your point, was what we found was that partners were doing associate work, because if your associate is simply down the hall, you can just ask them to come to your office. You can have a efficient conversation. But if you have to start emailing them, calling them, talking to them at their house, it just becomes too much. And so the partners start doing associate work, which is not how the firm's supposed to work. Then associates aren't learning, and then associates were missing out on the camaraderie of learning in the office from somebody. They felt lonely, which is a whole problem in this society. During COVID, people felt lonely. So it seems to not work in the legal profession at all.
But see, it's getting flushed out of the system, because during COVID, everybody kind of just let it ride. If you're a partner at a law firm and you you need your client to get taken care of, and you send it to Dunham, and he's not responsive, he's not getting the work done, whatever, then I'm going to send it to Jeremy. And if Jeremy does, then Jeremy's my guy. And so you saw that there were some cuts based on billable hours. Well, that's because nobody trusted Dunham. So Dunham was running around going, I can't get any hours. I can't get any. And Jeremy's getting overworked because he's being responsive. He knows what's. So those people are, started and are continuing to get flushed out of the system.
Interesting. Another aspect of the not being in the office, we talked about the associates, and I think it's overlooked a lot. Once upon a time, the legal field was like an apprenticeship type thing, right? You need to be around it. You need to kind of absorb it. I mean, some of the best lessons I learned as a young lawyer were just getting to overhear a conversation between two partners in an office, and I wasn't even directly working on it, but, I was there around it, just seeing kind of how they formed that strategy, or seeing that decision they made. So much of you miss out on that when you're not around other people. You're not going to have a Zoom. Nobody's going to open their Zoom window, so you can just overhear that conversation. You get very compartmentalized on the project that you're working on.
Absolutely.
Stewart, talk to us about how you can help a lateral and who has some idea that maybe they're not happy, they're open. Like, how can you help them walk through that process?
Yeah. So I appreciate the question. So if someone is open-minded or curious or thinks they're getting the raw end of the deal, I love to talk to people like that, because quite frankly, a lot of times I talk with people, they're in a pretty good situation. And I would encourage them to reach out. Let's talk. We can go through the numbers, see where you're at. Because when you have that little voice in the back of your head going, I'm getting it helps to kind of talk to someone and figure out, hey, I'm in a pretty good, now I don't need to be distracted by that. I can just go and do what I got to do. But sometimes I meet with people and, whatever trouble they're having, pain point, whatever they're having, we can kind of talk through it and understand why they're having it. Is it a platform problem? Is it a them problem? Is it is rates? Is it what is the challenge that they're having that they need to address? And I love to listen to people and hear what they're thinking, what they're trying to accomplish, where they want to be in a few years, where they want to be long term. Because everybody's different, right? Some people want to get to a point where they can, not work as much and they can funnel work to their team. Some people can't work enough. They just work and work and work, done them, and work. So it really depends what they're trying to accomplish. And I can help them understand that. And I would say, if you're a young attorney or an attorney that's trying to build a book of business, get a coach, get a mentor, get someone to help you. If you're an attorney, you're not necessarily a business development guru. Work with someone. Work with someone to figure it out. And when I'm talking to younger attorneys, I just don't have time. I got little kids. I got this. Eventually, you're going to have to find the time, or you're going to get left behind, or you're not going to be where you want to be long term. You have to network. You've got to do the business development side, and what that does for you, it gives you control. It gives you the security that you're looking for, because when you're generating revenue, you're an asset. When you're sucking cash, you're not an asset. So you're a liability. So you want to be an asset. And that's the question I get asked the most, right? Like, how much do I need? You have to develop business to be successful long-term in a firm, or hook your wagon to an older, somebody that's at a senior level partner who wants to sunset their career, and you kind of just step into it. But this doesn't happen a lot, and you're betting a lot on being that person.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Stewart, how would somebody find you if they wanted to talk to you?
Yeah. So I'm on LinkedIn. Also, I have a website. Okay. It's thewessel.group.
Okay.
Check out my website. Give me a call. All my numbers are on there. And love to talk to you.
Excellent. Well, I think we're about out of time here, Stewart. It's been wonderful having this conversation. Really, really thankful you came in to see us. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about or didn't get to that you would like to talk about? Or
no, I think I've been embarrassed enough and shared enough for one day.
You know what's great about that? Jeremy didn't even know, and he walked into things to get you. He didn't even know where I knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, I knew too. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us, Stewart.
I appreciate you having me, and good luck on your show.
Thank you.
Thank you.